The ground beneath St. Balthazar's Church hadn't been touched in over a century. Cracked stone, weathered pews, a broken altar watching over a forgotten flock. But behind the pulpit, sealed under decades of rot and plaster, police uncovered a hatch, rusted, bolted shut, hidden in plain sight, just like the truth. The air beneath it was thick, sour, earth mixed with something else, decay, the kind that clings to the inside of your nose. At the bottom of the stairwell, a tunnel longer than any they'd found before. The walls were lined with etchings, names, dozens of them, most female, all first names only. One stood out, Clara. Then, at the tunnel's end, a chamber, circular, cold, silent. Chains hung from the ceiling. 3 worn mattresses, empty, flattened. One chair, bolted to the center of the room, and carved into the backrest, the word, obey. On the far wall, a crude mural, painted in blood. A tree, surrounded by faces without eyes. And beneath it, scrawled over and over again, we are always watching. It wasn't just a dungeon. It was a ritual. And it didn't belong to just one man. Tucked in a rusted filing cabinet were dozens of ID cards. School IDs, hospital badges, government credentials, all male, all with a single symbol stamped into the corner. A triangle. Inside it, a black eye. Police turned to federal investigators. Nothing matched any official organization. But one name came up again and again in the metadata recovered from the old flash drive. The Hollow Collective. A name whispered on dark web forums. Allegedly a network of professionals. Judges, counselors, law enforcement who protected one another and shared secrets. The kind no one ever survived exposing. And Clara? She may have been the one who got away. Hidden inside a Bible near the altar, they found a USB stick. Password protected. But forensic techs cracked it in under an hour. Contained voice memos. Dozens. Clara's voice, slowly deteriorating over time. One recording stood out. She whispered, "It started at the school. He took me from the basement. But he wasn't alone. There was another man, older, bald, wore a cross. He called Marcus son. It wasn't metaphor. Marcus Reed's biological father died in 2001. But his godfather was Father Edwin Lorne, the former priest of St. Balthazar's, presumed dead in a fire, the same fire that gutted the church's east wing 19 years ago. But now, there were new sightings. 2 weeks ago, a local farmer reported seeing someone lurking in the woods behind the church, tall, thin, bald, wearing a rosary around his neck. When shown a photo of Father Lorne from 2004, the farmer went white. He said, "That's him, but older, eyes like glass." He watched me, like he knew everything. A new bolo was issued, but Lorne had vanished again, until 3 nights ago. A security camera at a roadside diner, 60 miles from Elmridge, picked up movement. A woman entered, blood on her hands, dirt on her face, limping. Clara. Behind her, a tall man followed. Not Marcus, not James, not Elliot Vance. A man no one recognized. When staff approached her, she dropped something, a folded piece of paper. Then she ran. The man followed. Neither returned. The note she left behind? It read, "This is bigger than them. It's older than this town. If I disappear again, look for the tree with no roots." That's where they begin. Investigators scoured local maps. Only one place fit. Grayfield Orchard, an apple farm abandoned in 1972 after a fire killed 5 workers. Official cause? Faulty wiring. But local legend always claimed the land was cursed. That nothing grew near the center tree, because it had no roots. They called it the watching tree. Police are on their way there now. But an anonymous tip just came in. A voice, shaking, muffled. They said, "They know you're looking, and they've already buried her again. She's not alone this time." And when asked for a name, they simply said, "I was number 7. She was number 9. There were 13 of us. There may be more victims. more survivors, or more monsters, and the truth may be sleeping beneath the watching tree, waiting to wake up. Grayfield Orchard was dead land, crooked trees, soil that hadn't birthed anything in over 50 years. Locals avoided it, said it felt watched, cursed, but police weren't chasing legends anymore. They were chasing Clara Jennings and the cult that swallowed her whole. They arrived just after dawn. The watching tree stood alone in the center of the orchard, leafless, charred, split straight down the trunk by a long-forgotten bolt of lightning. But the ground beneath it dry, disturbed. Cadaver dogs led the way, 2 feet down wood. An old trapdoor, cracked, weathered, with a triangle and eye carved into it. Faint, but unmistakable. When they opened it, the air hit them. Moist, rotten, wrong. A tunnel descended at a steep angle, lined with rotted planks and fraying rope. No lights, no signs, just darkness. And in that darkness, echoes. Faint, metallic, like chains moving in rhythm with breath. The team descended slowly. At the bottom, a vault. Hand-carved, reinforced, covered in mold. On the door, 13 marks etched with a nail. Beneath them, a word smeared in what appeared to be dried blood. Witnesses. Inside cells. 13 of them. 12 empty. 1 occupied. A woman, barely alive, malnourished, shaking, covered in old scars. She whispered a name. Clara. But it wasn't her. This woman had been missing for 8 years. Her name was Maya Greer. She'd been declared dead in 2016 after vanishing from a rest stop 2 states over. But here she was, alive and terrified. She said, "Clara got me out, but she stayed." She said someone had to finish it. She told police about rituals, masks, the watching tree, that the group called themselves the Hollow Lineage, that they believed certain women were voices, meant to carry their secrets. And once they spoke, they had to be silenced. Forever. Maya said Clara was the last voice, and she was still down there, somewhere. The tunnel branched from the vault into a lower level, beneath the orchard's roots. That's where they found the chamber. Circular, stone, ancient, and at the center an altar. Fresh blood, still warm. No body, just a necklace, Clara's. Next to it, a Polaroid, taken minutes before. Clara, bound, eyes open, mouth stitched shut, and standing behind her, the bald man, Father Edwin Lorne, alive, smiling, wearing a mask made from stitched human skin. And on the back of the photo, written in red ink, the voice tried to scream, but now she listens. Police searched the tunnels for hours. No more signs of Clara. No fresh blood trails. Just silence. Until one officer outside, near the northern tree line, found a new message, etched into bark with something sharp. "She's not buried. She's watching." That night, a new file was uploaded to a private server traced to a deactivated law enforcement IP. Contained a 15-second video. Clara, awake, staring into the lens, her mouth still sewn shut. Behind her, 13 figures in robes, each wearing a mask of a different face. Some male, some female. One, unmistakably Marcus Reed. Another, Elliot Vance. The final frame of the video zooms in on Clara's eye, and reflected in her pupil is a camera. A live feed. She's being watched. And she knows. The metadata was traced. It led not to a cult hideout, but to a building deep beneath Elmridge General Hospital. A psychiatric wing. Condemned since 1989. But something's still active down there. Motion sensors. Electricity. Heat signatures. Something, or someone, is still inside. And tomorrow, police plan to go in. But just hours ago, every officer on the task force received the same anonymous message. You think you're closing the book, but she's still writing the story. And attached, one final image. A security feed. Time-stamped 1 hour ago. A hospital hallway. Empty. Except for a single figure. A woman in a bloodied hospital gown. Clara. Standing at the end of the hall. staring at the camera, smiling. They entered Elmridge General Hospital at exactly 11:06 p.m. The psychiatric wing had been sealed since 1989 after a series of unexplained patient deaths. The official story blamed asbestos, but the locals whispered about what really happened in the basement. Nurses who vanished, patients found sewn shut, and a priest who blessed the halls every Sunday, until he didn't. Access to the lower level had been welded shut. But the anonymous photo of Clara, smiling in that bloodied gown, was time-stamped from inside. Someone had reactivated the cameras. When they cut through the steel door, it groaned like something ancient was waking. The stairwell reeked of mold, iron, and disinfectant. But deeper, beneath that, was something else. A smell like wet wood and burnt flesh. They descended into the dark. At the bottom, the corridor split in two, left toward what used to be patient isolation. Right toward surgical storage. The lights flickered. The team split. On the left, rows of padded cells scratched down to concrete. Symbols carved in blood on every surface. Spirals. Eyes. Trees. The word "listen" scrawled again and again across the ceiling. No signs of life. On the right, the cold room. Surgical chairs. Restraints. Hooks in the ceiling. Walls lined with jars. Each filled with something unrecognizable. And at the center, a monitor. Still warm. Still running. A live feed. Clara. Sitting in a chair. Eyes swollen. Mouth unstitched. Breathing heavy. She looked straight at the camera. And mouthed a single word. Run. The screen went black. Behind them, footsteps. Fast. There. Not one set. 13. The team turned, weapons raised. But the hallway was empty. Then the lights went out. Night vision kicked in. And the feed came back on. But this time, the camera showed something different. Not Clara. A wall. Covered in Polaroids. Faces. Victims. And every photo now burned. Except one. Clara's. Pinned in the center with a nail. Below it, a new photo, taken just seconds earlier. It showed the officers standing in that very hallway. And behind them, clear as day, stood a man in a mask. Leather. Pale. Eyes hollow. Holding a scalpel. They turned. Nothing. But one officer screamed. Gone. No trace. No sound. Just gone. Then, a sound through the intercom. Distorted. Warped. A voice, male, deep, familiar. You were never supposed to come here. She warned you. She always warns them. The lights flickered again. And for just 1 second, Clara appeared. In the hallway. Naked. Blood-soaked. Swaying. And whispering. No sound. But her lips moved. And forensic analysts would later confirm the words were, "The voice becomes the witness. The witness becomes the hollow." A door slammed shut. Another officer gone. Their radios went dead. One final motion sensor went off in sublevel 3. A level no one had ever documented. No blueprints. No permits. But the access shaft was there. Covered by a steel grate marked with the symbol, the triangle, the eye, the roots. They opened it. It led straight down. Not stairs. A ladder. And carved into the concrete every 10 feet, were names. All the same handwriting. Clara's. And as they descended, the walls began to breathe. Moist. Living. Some officers described hearing heartbeat-like rhythms. Others heard children laughing. One heard his dead sister's voice. At the bottom, they entered what could only be described as a vault of bones. Stacked. Arranged. Like a cathedral. Skulls turned toward the center. And there, an altar. But no Clara. Just a book. Bound in skin. On the cover, the 13th voice. Inside, names. Dates. Symbols. And finally, a single line, written in Clara's own hand. I was never missing. I was preparing. As they read the line, the vault door behind them slammed shut. The lights died. And from the shadows, a voice. Clara. But not quite. Deeper. Calm. Commanding. This was never about escape. It was about inheritance. And then, screaming. Not from outside. From within. One officer's eyes rolled back. Another collapsed, shaking violently. They began to speak in unison. 13 voices. One message. The Hollow has awakened. The 13th has returned. Transmission cut. Signal lost. No contact since. And this morning, every single file on the Clara Jennings case vanished from federal databases. Only one remains. A grainy image. A figure in a hospital gown, standing in the middle of Elmridge. Arms out, eyes black, mouth stitched shut again. And behind her, 12 masked figures, each holding a candle, each watching. And on the sidewalk where she stood, one word burned into the concrete. Witness. To be continued.